Yawn 28. Catherine, seaman apprentice. Catherine, whatever the fuck her last name was my fuck buddy from the boat. An awkward relationship I cannot seem to burn from my memory. Techniques to deal with hazardous materials on the thrill were minimal. Double bagging was the standard effort to prevent spills and cross-contamination. Between paints and solvents, most bags turned to a sticky vapor-dense mush on the bottom of the hazmat locker. To clean the mess up, the BM-1 gave me all of deck force on our first in-port workday after the Alaskan deployment. With my first assignment in a leadership role, my busy mind was finally focused. The Monday arrived and I was given permission to skip the morning muster to prep for the hazmat chain. My method was simple. Form a line with 20 deckers down the length of the main deck, pass the triple-sealed hazmat bags over the ship to a second line on the quay wall. That second line would then deposit the hazmat in a waiting bin the Navy provided us for the purpose. As the paint locker guy and the lead of the operation, I was in the hazmat locker ensuring each bag contained only items that could be submitted together, i.e., oily rags in one bag, solvents in another, etc. The locker was below the second deck, just aft of the paint locker. Its only access point was a small hatch and a 15-foot ladder. I began the process at the bottom of the ladder, passing triple-sealed bags up. Suited up in a hazmat suit and full-face respirator, I felt isolated from everyone, though they all knew their simple task. Everything was going smoothly. The BM-1 mentioned that he didn't like how we were passing bags over the water, but he didn't offer a solution, so I ignored his unease. The bags went from triple-bagged to quadruple bag out of concern for leaks. I was nearing the bottom of the hazmat pile, scrapping goo off the deck, when a voice yelled down from the hatch above. I looked up and saw Lois and another female face. "Hey, ashore, we have a new decky. Catherine, meet ashore. Ashore, Catherine." She was a brunette with long hair, not wearing an undershirt under her working coveralls. I could make out her entire collarbone and a few inches of her chest, though the outfit was too baggy to see her breast size. I gawked upwards in silence. She smiled and said, "Hey, ashore, maybe I'll get to see your face in the barracks tonight." And the two disappeared. In my full face mask respirator, I was invisible to her. Lois is gonna tell her I'm a drunk. Oh, shit. Barracks tonight. Oh, man, I bet she invited her to the barracks. My focus switched to tactical mode. How could I get this new cute girl? I sucked at meeting women. Planning on having to get Catherine in bed with me became my core thought. Bags still going up the ladder, goo scraping, fucking Catherine in my brain. The night came on and I was chugging whiskey. Blue Jay said she was hot, but I still hadn't seen her in full. Tired of being alone, tired of masturbating, tired of the fucking boat, everyone else getting laid. It was my turn. More shots, swigs straight from the bottle. Lois and her friend never stopped by. I'll go to her door. I put a condom in my teeth and knocked on Lois's door. No answer. Fuck. Walked back to my door. It was locked. Fucked. Where's Blue Jay? Fuck. Sat in the hallway. Another swig. Hallway swaying. I could hear the elevator door open around the corner at the end of the hallway. I looked down at the tiles beneath me and considered my ability to stand. It wasn't looking so good. I looked back down the hall. Lois and Catherine had stopped and were looking at me. They started laughing. Here's my chance. Always nervous when we hung out, I drank to calm myself. When we had sex, I couldn't come. On the boat, I would half brag about my success to the guys and half worry that the command would find out. My head was a mess. When the Thrill left for another southern patrol, we were considered a couple by most of the crew. Though for me, the whole thing was just awkward. I didn't really know her, and there was no way she could have known me. Without the comforting effects of alcohol, I tried to ignore her as best as I could. On the fantail, deckies would sit in circles or lean on the rails, smoking and joking. I'd walk off on my own, stare off into the distance, and she would come stand beside me, breathe in my ear. "Hey, sexy, you think we could crawl into the line locker tonight? Suck on my cigarette. Maybe." Journal entry, February 2004. Sometimes I can hear the loneliness of sea when I'm wrapped in her arms and she whispers to me. In Manta, she lied to me. said she forgot her ID in San Diego, so the command wouldn't let her leave the boat. When I returned later that night, it was rumored she left with the OS-1. I didn't complain or blame when she fucked him. The guys used it as a reason to give me shit. I blocked their assaults by saying I was bored by her. Catherine and I would still talk as if nothing changed. She was confused by me. Yawn 29. Gilmore, Seaman. 1970. Drugs had America's attention, thanks to the American political pulpit. With monetary considerations and influences from the church, specific presidential and congressional politicians pushed anti-drug policies. Before being impeached for abuse of power, Nixon had become a devotee of Billy Graham and declared a war on drugs. The war on drugs was established and prioritized within the Coast Guard's core missions. The thrill was built for it by Billy Graham and the evangelical movement. The war on drugs leaves a tremendous trail of death. This trail starts at the doors of the cartels in Central and South America. The power these cartels have is derived by the illegality of cocaine in the United States. Among the innocent people that are killed by the war on drugs are the drug runners and their families. For the drug runners, go-fast coxswains in our case, they are only mules. U.S. courts have found that 70% of these individuals are forced into their roles by cartel violence. Their families are often held hostage until the drugs are delivered successfully. They are told that, if they complete their mission, their family will survive. If not, their female family members will be sold in the sex trade, and the males will be suspended by the ceilings by their testicles. The assignments given to the mules are always to transport drugs on a specific vessel to a specific location in the United States, stopping at refueling ships disguised as fishing vessels along the way. These captives are given a side-on with one round and set off on their mission. Our job on the thrill was to prevent these people from making it to the USA. When we succeeded, we take their drugs and pose in front of American news cameras with the American flag waving over our shoulders. We then load the drugs into giant white vans and we go to the local bar and drink until we decide to scrounge the streets for drugs. On my third voyage south, our gas turbines had major engine issues and we were forced into a nearby port, Puerto Casal. There, with pigs and little children on the street covered with flies, a group of seamen, including Gilmore and myself, headed for a 5-star hotel. A robin egg blue pool waited empty in the center of the mission-style complex, shaded by giant palms. We paid $20 per room, and as a compliment were allowed to watch the room attendants skip around in short skirts and tank tops. The front desk sold Jack and Modelo, which listed formaldehyde in the ingredients. The reds they sold supposedly used fiberglass in the filters. I purchased as many of each item as I could carry. One morning I found myself hanging onto the side of the pool, submerged in my jeans, pissing myself. Exhausted, I couldn't make my arms pull my body out of the water. Looking up at one of the room balconies, I saw the FSC and QMC laughing with 2 young room attendants. Both chiefs were married, I knew, and I sat there staring at the balconies in intrigue. Fat, bleached pig skin hung out of their wife-beaters. They laughed, drunk on the euphoria of the moment. I had been in the pool since before the sun came up. My Jack bottle was full of chlorinated water, which I sipped to diffuse my dehydration. Gilmore walked by me casually. "Hey, fucker, help!" He startled, laughed, and coached me towards the stairwell where I could crawl out. He lit a cigarette and pressed it against my lips. We laughed at the shithole city we were in. We laughed at our attitudes towards it. We discussed the probable quality of the cocaine there in the nearby town. We supposed it could be found easily by flashing money around. Soon, we were on the road. Swaggering down the streets, we searched for a low-key environment to chat with the locals and fill our stomachs. The town had evidently heard that a bunch of white people had arrived, and a restaurant owner threw out his cigarette and smiled as we approached. He hustled us into his building without us understanding a word of what he said. Food was brought out without us ordering. When you're underway for long periods of time, your equilibrium becomes compromised. I started swaying. Gilmore ordered me tequila to help my hurting head. We ate fried shrimp, head, shell, and tail, with a fantastic layer of powdered spices. There was a young girl of about 12 in a clean white dress, helping us nervously. I asked her if she knew where we could find cocaine. Coca, coca, and I placed my finger to my nose and sniffed. Woo! I shouted too loud and smiled. She ran into the back room. A frantic man, who was probably her father, came flying through the door. Senor, help you, senor, he said. I repeated my Spanish word for cocaine. Coca, el coca. Oh, si, amigo, ¿quieres coca? Si, I said, hoping he had understood me, and he retreated to the back room. The tequila had boosted my confidence. Gilmore was occupied, feeding the roosters and pigs on the front stoop of the restaurant. They were arguing over the scraps. The girl from earlier was peeking through the kitchen's doorway curtains, also watching the animals eat, with contempt. The meal was small, and the drink was enough to make us not care. Encouraging us to go outside, the owner introduced us to a man wearing a cowboy hat on the street. We threw a random amount of loose change on the table. Gracias, amigo. We left the restaurant and soon found ourselves riding in a rusted 1960s German minivan. The city streets were dirt, though they still gave order and a sense of civilization amongst the buildings. Soon we were on backcountry roads, in the jungle, flying through dusty countrysides, past little huts and men on horses. There was no stereo for the faint plastic country music to exist, but there it was, in a ceiling corner of my brain, softly twanging away. Gilmore was arched in his seat, eyes on the window, watching for our unknown destination, senses on alert. I had my own alertness to deal with. The past 24 hours had been a mixture of adrenaline, excitement, and euphoria. It was fading, and there was no replacement in sight, not even a source of clean water. The country music was torture, so I said the first thing to pop in my mind. Why is our ship white? He jerked his neck to bring his eyes towards me, and he scanned my posture and face. I don't know why. I thought we were supposed to be sneaky. White is not sneaky. He turned away. Our van was moving up and up on a dirty mountain passage. Continuous cowboys and rusted trucks passing our windows. A rickety school bus nearly plowed us off the road. Present beneath the layer of red dust, a hint of lush jungle. The city was a long way behind us. We both had bad thoughts in our head, and the driver would not respond to our English. As we moved on, I could see my shipmates' stress grow. It was possible we were being kidnapped. Maybe we would be taken to jail. A fucking cage in the jungle. Both of us played it cool, silently. There was nothing for us to do. What could be done? Jump out of the van? Fucking driver won't answer our fucking questions. How far would the walk back be? We could deny asking for drugs. Deny. Our Coast Guard careers would be over. Locked in Guatemalan prison. Gilmore would be assaulted first, I bet. Look at him. I'm just a flabby little bitch. Nobody would rape me. Without warning, the driver swerved. For a split second, I could see Gilmore's head smash against the window. Then I was on the floor. Spanish filled the air in loud 3-round burst. Working myself to my knees, I looked out the windshield. We had skidded off the side of the road and came to a dramatic stop. A small overlook exposed the Pacific Sea in the far distance. The driver flung open his door and stomped to the front of the van. Gilmore and I looked at each other without talking, and we hopped out of the vehicle. We lit cigarettes and watched our Mexican driver fiddle fuck under the hood. He came over and gestured for us to shut the door and rubbed his fingers over the van to show dust was getting in. He then casually walked back to the hood and slammed it closed. He jumped in the driver's seat and slammed that door too. We stood speechless as he peeled onto the street towards the way we came, leaving us like we were assholes or something, covered in fine red dust. Fuck. Yawn 30. Blue Jay. Seaman. He had laundry duty as I had paint locker duty. Underway, we were both isolated in the front of the ship, while others were doing other menial work. Of course, both of us had helm lookout watch too, and were even on the same shifts, 4 to 8s. Because of the early hours, we would have had late sleepers, which allowed us to sleep until 10. Because we had special assignments, laundry and paint locker, we could not sleep in, and we had a line of people bitching at us as we raced from our bridge duty to our special duty. Amongst this schedule, we continually had to be ready to respond to daily drills, at random times, and daily mass hazing activities. Blue Jay and I became very close during this time. Seafaring is a struggle, plus you are always mad from a lack of sleep. I loved it. Once Gilmore came to get some paint from me, and we found our way to the laundry area. There was Blue Jay listening to Friend of the Devil with the largest smile on his face. I've never seen anyone look so free as I did see Blue Jay that day. She says she's got my child, but it don't look like me. I set out running, but I take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. Gilmore and I were both 10 years junior to Blue Jay, and we were influenced by the guy. His ability to enjoy music so shamelessly, sans souci attitude towards everything. After seeing Blue Jay like that, Gilmore and I often found reasons to visit him during the workday. We talked about everything. We dreamed about getting off the ship, traveling to Europe together, where Blue Jay had 10K hidden in the mountains of Switzerland. Blue Jay often spoke about his drugged adventures in Philadelphia and his escape from that scene just in the nick of time when he joined the Coast Guard. They would have killed me. I owed them so much money, he said. On our 4 to 8s, we were in a position to see the orange sunrise and purple sunset every day from the flybridge. There, at the highest deck of the ship, was isolation. It was a fantastic spot to dream, think, and stare off into the distance. The job was easy. Report everything. A brass sound tube was at hand to talk to the bridge below. A giant mast decorated with spinning electronics, lights, and flags. A walkway around it with a place to take shelter from the wind and smoke against standing orders. There was a pair of big eyes, a telescope to spy on the moon. The sun was still up. I was riding high. We were in the second hour of our watch. I leaned on the railing by the big eyes, staring at the forecastle. My mind ruminated in a peculiar way, and I let it. Sea spray was coughing through the anchor hawsers, and water was racing over the deck, flooding off through the scuppers. The paint on the deck gear, yellow, red, rust, shining brighter. The anchor chains disappeared off the ship. 2 giant bits, a windlass, chain, chocks, a bulwark. Paint so reflective. My senses honed in and I started mildly hallucinating. It wasn't my first LSD flashback. The deck gear suddenly looked like Legos. The quality of an object is a result of the merit of the stare. Water shooting through the hawser pipe turned into Legos. I was hesitant to look at my hands, but when I did, I thankfully found them in reality. The sound tube's buzzer squealed, signaling the bridge wanted me to communicate. I opened the brass sound tube and said, "Flybridge." Blue Jay answered, "The OOD wants you to calm down." Footnotes: 4 to 8s. Watch at 0400 to 0800, and a second watch at 1600 to 2000 every day. 63. Hawser. A hole cut through the deck of a ship to allow anchor chain to freely fall into the sea. 64. Sound tube. A copper pipe designated as a foolproof and primitive way to talk between decks. A bell horn on either side, both to speak into and to amplify sound. An electric buzzer normally nearby to attract awareness. Yawn 31. QMC. Wasn't supposed to be drunk. There was a Cinderella Liberty. It was 23:45, 15 minutes before we were to be locked on board. Most of us were getting in a last-second piece of land. There was a group of us talking about rock and roll, who was the best. I was heated, emotions never being my strong suit. The QMC was definite that the Rolling Stones were the best, and he was articulating why. I couldn't take it, and I started shouting about why he was wrong. Not sure what I was saying, though my shipmates around me were trying to get me to calm down. I had lost all sense of respect, hierarchy, and order. At the top of my lungs, "No one is better than the motherfucking boss, man! No one!" I was dragged down the gangway by someone. My feet were picked up, tossed in the shower. Cold water soaked through my shoes, felt the swaying, slurs, and commands. I awoke the next day, vaguely recalling the incident and worrying about what would happen when I showed my face. No one ever mentioned a thing, and I don't even like Springsteen that much. Yawn 32. Miss Milton, Ensign. During the early years of the 21st century, like many government organizations, the Coast Guard was doing everything it could to diversify its ranks. This meant they recruited lots of women, and because women are smarter than men, they were mostly officers. Miss Milton was one of these women. She was about 5 feet tall and had skin too tan to be white. She wore a sea-sized breast and a beautiful face. During southern patrols, the captain often opened the decks to Steel Beach. This was a clever term used to describe the fantail during seagoing liberty. If you were not actively on watch, you could use the fantail as if it were a beach. Crew would bring out guitars and lounge chairs. The Jacob's ladder was lowered so we could swim. A shark watch was posted. A legitimately good time was had by most. Miss Milton and the other female officers would come out in the smallest bikinis possible and flaunt their bodies to each and every shipmate. Small and tantalizing, glistening with sun, lotion, and sweat. Sexy in their suits, sexy in their stances, sexy laying down, delicate on the non-skid. Turn over, can't get comfortable. Try to relax on the knees. Yoga pose with head down and butt up. Still not comfortable. Walk to the railing. Lean over and look at the water for a bit. Widen stance. Lean over farther. Put feet together. Reach up on tippy toes and bend over. Think about getting in. Laugh out loud with a giggle, giving away the fact that you know everyone is staring at you. Turn around and exclaim that, hee hee, I would jump in from way up here if I didn't think my bathing suit would come off. Hee hee. Stretch on your tippy toes again. Stretch out arms. Complete exposure of smooth stomach and under boob. Pretend yawn. Masturbating was a tough skill to acquire aboard, though it was necessary. There was 3 good options. The first was to do it in the shitter stall, in the head. The backside of the stall door was coated in years of congealed and hardened semen spray. The second was to do it in your rack, which was more comfortable, though your risk being loud and then being caught. The third was in the shower. I mastered the third, and I would rip out a page of a porno magazine and stick it to the wall in the shower. On this day, with my memory, I did not need to rip out a page while I showered. I also later noticed the back door of the stall was oozing more than normal. If someone was suspected of masturbating in the shower, you would scream at the top of your lungs, "Did you remember to wear your shower socks?" Then you'd punch as hard as you could through the shower curtain. Footnote 65. Jacob's Ladder. A ladder built of manila line and wooden steps designed to stow in a bundle and easily drape over the ship for boarding, often used in personnel recovery or pilot boarding. 66. Shark Watch. An armed watchstander prepared to warn off, deter, and, if needed, shoot at potentially aggressive sharks. Captain. Now hear this. Ladies and gentlemen, your country is indebted to you. It takes bravery and commitment, strength to do what you do. At 2400 hours last night, I gave the order to make all speed home. We're going home. Yawn 33. Sheen. Seaman. We shared living quarters, everywhere, voluntarily, slept within penis reach of each other for 2 years. Sheen's anger spells appear easily in my memory recall, though his voice, his manners, his ideology is vacant from my recollection. I know we were close. Images of his car in the desert, his girlfriend Hannah, a boat chick, mess cooking. We planted raw eggs in the hard-boiled egg bin, waited for some unsuspecting sap to crack one open. The boat heels over unsuspectedly. Laugh as we hear deep-sink dishes crash to the floor. The FS-3s shout bloody murder. Clark curses God and darts towards the doors through the galley, balancing a pot of oil in one hand as he quickly opens each dog around the door. His concoction doesn't make it over the side. It's on the deck flooding the alcove. FS-3s and Clark yelling and looking for help. Sheen and I hiding in the scullery, laughing in a fog of steam. Racing through the deserts of Southern California at 70 miles per hour in his brand new silver convertible Eclipse. Go faster! I don't want to get a ticket. He was embarrassed about his weight. They found out and laid it on thick. Sheen dieting, exercising, running, perspiring, made friends with the captain during morning runs. He's losing weight, grinding his jaw. He's eating dieting pills, weight loss pills. Blue Jay and I take them for fun, awake for days, disgusted by pills. Sheen, you gotta stop taking these, man. They're like speed. You're gonna have a heart attack. Shut the fuck up. He wears his skin like a cheap Walmart suit. He plays Plastic Country on his DVD CD player, Tim McGraw, as I drift to sleep. He leaves for work and doesn't bother waking me up. We have the same shift. In our berthing area, Sheen bunked directly beside me, with only a thin sheet of porous metal between us. We were both on the top rack of 3 highs located in Margaritaville. 3 highs are built with 3 individual racks stacked on each other, and each rack has a horizontal locker, roughly 5 inches deep under the mattress. When a locker is in the open position, it is called tricing your locker. If a person happened to be in the rack while the locker was opened, it was called being triced. This was considered a fun way to haze, as it left the person completely trapped and unable to see the person who victimized him. Sheen was a big boy, so it took 2 to trice him. Sheen was never one for aggressive play, and any attempt to fuck with him led to anger, which a lot of us thought was funny. At one point, maybe in Alaska, Sheen was triced at the same time as me. We both rolled into the inboard side of our rack and were smashed there against a thin metal partition. We were smushed against it from either side. Sheen was irate. He yelled at the top of his lungs. The berthing area petty officer, BM3 Kurtz, came over and saw Sheen triced. "You better shut the fuck up or I'll give you something to whine about." Sheen snapped back. "You better let me the fuck out of here." The BM3 had been on the ship for 3+ years. "I'll tell you when you can get out of there. If you don't shut your fucking bitchin', I'm gonna handcuff your ass to the fucking fireman and tape your mouth shut." I was right in the thick of it, behind Sheen and behind the partition. The BM3 didn't know I was triced too. I was worried Sheen was about to say something stupid. "Chill out, dude. They'll let us out." "Fuck you, Ashore. Don't tell me what to fucking do." He fucking yelled at me. I was trying to help him, and he fucking yelled at me. "Kurtz, you wanted him to shut up? Let me out of here and I'll make him shut up." The BM3 came over to my side laughing. "I didn't even see you in here. Who the fuck did this to you?" Ha! He let me out. I walked over to Sheen's rack and he was breathing heavy. Angry, caged beast. I was mad at his remark and determined to get revenge. "Can I have your handcuffs?" I looked at Kurtz. All the mates in the berthing area were peeking out of their racks to watch, and others had come in for the show at the sound of Sheen yelling. "Ashore, if you fucking touch me, I'll kill you." "Let him go." BM3 legit and Ray all pushed the rack up with all their might, and then counted. 1, 2, 3. The rack fell open and everyone dived out of the way. I jumped under Sheen as he flew out of his rack in his tighty-whitey underwear. Not anticipating my move to submit to being under him, Sheen had his back to me. I reached around under his arms and grabbed his neck to let him know I was serious. When he stretched his primary arm backwards to grab my armpit, I put all of my body over his left side and forced his fat arm up, twisting and then took it back down towards the bottom rack. The cuffs were dangling by my belt. I had just finished boarding team member training a week earlier and was quick with the cuffs. I had the cuffs on his wrist and on the bottom's bunk handrail in seconds. He had my jaw and was trying to rip it off my face. I kneed him in the groin, did a somersault over his head, crashing into the bulkhead, and I pushed myself off with the full force of my legs. I was back on top of the wild boar who was trying to figure out his handcuff situation. Pouncing for the other arm, I yelled, "Someone get the tape!" Ray came running, ready with duct tape he kept for such purposes, and he jumped on Sheen's head. Kicks were going everywhere. Legit was pissed his rack was being used for the chaos. "You better stop kicking my shit, boy!" And he jumped on top of Sheen's lower body. Ray got the tape around his face a few times. He fucked it up and wrapped up his nostrils too. But Sheen wouldn't stop fighting, so we had no time to fix it. Next, I pinned his arm against his body so we could duct tape that too. In the period of a few minutes, Sheen went safely from his rack to duct tape, handcuffed and asphyxiated, covered in sweat and pink skin. He was still kicking in his tighty whities as we all dismounted him. "Stop kicking and we'll let you breathe," said BM3 Kurtz. Seeing the dangers of staying by the drama, people started clearing out. "Sheen," I said, "stop fucking kicking, jackass, and I'll let you go, asshole." I was soaked in sweat too, but I was in my uniform with boots on. My watch was in 10 minutes and the BM3 and I had to go. Blue Jay walked in the berthing area. "Hey dude, what's going on? I heard you were in a fight." He didn't see Sheen. "Nah, man, I'm good." I looked at Ray. "Hey brother, I've got watch. Can you take care of him so I can go smoke?" On the fantail, I lit up with Blue Jay. "You look like shit. You can't go to the bridge like that." "It's dark. No one will see." My cigarette butt was soaked in finger sweat, so I ripped it off, threw it overboard. Inhaled hard on the filterless smoke. Kept the tobacco stick between my teeth to prevent it from spoiling. Blew it overboard. "You worried about Sheen?" I started hacking my lungs out as I responded. "Maybe. He's a bigger bitch each day he's on those pills. Dangerously hormonal." Footnote 67. Living quarters. To quarter is to split into fours, to separate. Living quarters is then an area separated from working areas. This applies to giving quarter as well, to give room or a room. 68. Tricing. To move a rack to its vertical position, either as a daily cleanliness or order mandate, or, when available, to use the locker beneath. To trice a person is to trap them in their rack, to haze. 69. Boarding team member. An entry-level maritime law enforcement qualification. Mr. B. Hey, ashore. What's the best thing about a 9-year-old? Hey, ashore? What's the best thing about a 9-year-old? If you put her in the shower and slick her hair back, she looks like she's 6. Journal entry. April 2004. In the darkness of the berthing room, the edge where the head door meets the bulkhead illuminates enough for us to make way. Now, that door isn't shut properly. A crack large enough to cast a light beam exists, and it has landed on Kurtz's rack. His curtain is slightly ajar. The boat sways. Perspiration on his forehead catches the beam of light. He stares forward at something on the other side of the curtain. I cannot see what. A whisper screamed at the far side of the berth. Kurtz turned instinctually. He caught my gaze. He looked at me, not at my eyes, not my face. He looked at my head, stared. Time left as I watched him staring at my head. Stiff face. Look at me. He pulled the curtain all the way closed. Yawn 34. Seaman ashore. There was nothing worse than watching the boarding team leave the thrill at sea. The helo was different. Working on the helos seemed improbable for someone like me. The small boat, however, was manned by guys my age or just slightly older. I could be on the boat. Exciting operations, risky and adventurous, over the horizon. When GQ2 was called and we manned the gravity davit, my heart always sank. I wanted to be on that small boat so bad. There were many reasons for launching the small boat. The primary one was to chase go-fast drug runners. Our small boat was a newer model, designed to go faster in larger seas and further over the horizon. It was equipped with two 250 horsepower outboards. The coxswain would sit in the center console, a small windshield in front of him. Horse-style seating ran fore and aft for the crew, holding like hell to a leather strap. When the call was made to launch, our response time was supposed to be within minutes. The boarding team would arm themselves and prep while being debriefed by the operations officer. The boat crew would prep the boat, strategize for the number of crew that would be on board, and gear up depending on sea conditions. Swell size, water temp, time of day. Deck force would man the small boat launch deck with all hands. Each launch required a davit man, a rear linesman, a forward linesman, me, a painter, handler, and a winch operator. The order of operations had to be precise to ensure the boat made the water without capsizing instantaneously and to ensure the crews weren't thrown off by the pitching and rolling of the thrill. Of course, there were a bunch of white hats, officers and chiefs, standing around directing. Once the small boat was launched, it would immediately come up to speed and start moving away from the thrill and disappear to some fantastical place. It was this that always left me feeling empty. It was horrible to know that something, somewhere, someone was having a more exciting adventure than me. Back on the thrill, there was just a lot of standing by to stand by. Horrible waiting. Once having served my time as a non-rate, I was allowed to enroll in an A school. Georgia and I had mutually decided to sign on to the Airman Mechanic A school together, which was a 6-month waiting period, followed by a 6-month school. I was on the thrill longer and was permitted to enroll first. Georgia submitted our paperwork as I went to stand watch. The satisfaction of having a discharge date, of leaving the thrill, was tremendous. Knowing that I was going to work on helicopters, that one job that was so unreachable months before, was soothing. As the months went by, George and I continued to go through the stages of being a non-rate on a 378. More paint locker adventures, more Mexican nights, many more trips to Riverside. Our deployment, which would have led us through the Panama Canal, failed when our gas turbines blew up. We moored in Puerto Casal for 2 weeks instead. Again. We were halfway through our home port break when the day came. 25% of deck force reported to work expecting to receive orders, to have papers in hand to leave the thrill, and to venture into either new permanent stations or to go to A school. As always, we mustered in the boatswain hole, Stagger standing on the side in dark glasses and pressed uniform, legit beside him, leaning on the wall like he was driving a gangster's Cadillac, Sheen on the far side of the circle, sitting cross-legged, daydreaming, Gilmore chatting with Blue Jay, neither on the list to get orders, Lois talking loudly and looking around for attention, Jay scratching her crotch. Mr. B walked in the room and the BM2 yelled, "Attention on deck!" Everyone jumped to their feet except those of us who saw the gawky old man enter. Yeah. Hey now, fuck you. Sit the fuck down, everyone. Sit the fuck down. You fuckers are excited. He started his spiel before we were ready. He just dove into it. But I need to get this damn ship painted in the next 2 weeks. Everyone shut up. Ray. Yes, sir. You still don't have orders. I'm fucking stuck with you another 6 fucking months. Stagger. Hey, sir. What are you, striking or something? Okay. Hey, Stagger. What were you doing over by the ballpark? I saw you over there. Stagger stood and gave a silent stare through his dark sunglasses, annoyed he was being interrogated by Mr. B. He started to respond, but was too slow. You dangling your wee-wee through the fence? Hey, dangling your Johnson through the fence at the playground. Yeah, shut up. Hey, Georgia. Here. The boat rocked against the pier. Georgia, you're going to Elizabeth City. You're going to be in Airedale. Congratulations. I didn't know you were smart enough for something like that. Bimberton. Aye. You're going to Petaluma. Something about computer school. DeVille. You're going to Petaluma too, to be a cook. We'll get you up to the kitchen to start learning now. Hey, Boats, pointing to the BM1, get DeVille up to the galley by the end of the week. Will do, sir. Johnson, you fucking traitor, you're going to Yorktown to be a damage control guy. Let's get Johnson hazed real good before we kick him to the engine room. Riley. Riley was congratulating Georgia and not paying attention. Where the fuck is Riley? Riley, aye, sir. Oh, fucking swell. Thanks for wasting my fucking time. I should have you fucking flogged for this shit. What is it, 0900 already or what? Are we gonna paint this fucking boat? Riley, you're going to BMA school next month. Start fucking packing. You'll miss this upcoming deployment. Needlemeyer. There was silence, but Needlemeyer number 2 was sitting in front of me. Needlemeyer, how the fuck did you get orders so fucking fast? It says here you're going to SK school. I guess you're gonna miss me. You gonna work with the SKs before you leave, huh? Well, you can't. Gotta paint this boat. Haha. Ashore, what's wrong with you? You hungover? Haha. Been drinking with Clark again, eh? Been playing the rusty trombone with Clark, eh? Eh, ashore? A little rusty trombone. All right. Get to work. Boats has the floor. I was exasperated. Where the fuck are my orders? He must have skipped me. Once the BM1 finished, we broke to start the day. I was in the paint locker, so I had to deal out a shit ton of paint. Fuck me. I did that, and by lunchtime, I was at the chief's mast asking for the BMC. Hey, chief, what's up with my orders? They didn't come through? He listened to my story, that I was ahead of Georgia by 1 spot on the list, and that I was assured to have orders. He saw my sense of desperation and must have been in a good mood. He took me to his office, and we jumped online. See? No orders. But the good news is, you're the first on the list for the next class. You'll have your orders in 6 months from now. Back in the barracks, Georgia was kicking it with Sheen. I had refused to give him a ride to Riverside because my truck needed an oil change. I lied horribly back then. My anger had risen to an uncontrollable level, and I was drinking to stop thinking. People were talking about the orders that everyone received, who was leaving the boat in the next few weeks, who was transferring out of deck force. We must be getting a lot of new guys because everyone is leaving, some fuck said. I just sat there drinking. Georgia, Sheen, and Gilmore approached me. Gilmore said, "Oh, you'll be all right, man. Just 6 more months." Then Georgia, "Yeah, stop being a little bitch. You'll be..." I swung at him before he could finish his sentence. I missed because I was drunk and probably didn't really want to hit him. The group jumped on me. "What the fuck, ashore?" Footnote 70. A school. The U.S. Coast Guard has 2 standard classifications of school, A and C schools. A schools are prolonged schools where a serviceman learns his trade which he will have for the remainder of his career. 71. Airedale. a Coast Guard member who specializes in flight operations. 72, SK, storekeeper. The stigma is that storekeepers are the shitbags of the Coast Guard. They choose the rate because it's easy, often landside, and advancement happens fast. It is also a quick way to get off the ship. Yawn 35. Lois. Seaman. Lois yelled and ran to catch up. It was Friday, 1300. Blue Jay and I were walking across the footbridge that connects the shoreside to the waterside, 32nd Street Naval Base. Our plan? Buy a 30-pack of booze and drink it as fast as possible. Would you guys slow down, please? Jeez, what you up to this weekend? I'm going to the beach. I bought a new bathing suit. Hee hee. It wasn't so much that we disliked her. As a shipmate, there was a tender place in our emotional seascape for Lois. We were just annoyed by her. Each style of smile she wore showed signs of plastic. Each comment she made was worthy of game trivia. Any flow in conversation could be halted, redirected, or smashed without a loss. The day was young. Through the barrack's small, dirty window, one could look out across a mighty field of naval supply ships, patrol boats, and amphibious warships, beyond the Coronado Bridge, past aircraft carriers, and out further than the Point Loma Lighthouse, into an afar glittering sea of expansive horizons to sail to forever. All four of us sat crookedly in the little cinder block barracks room, two sandwiched on Blue Jay's love seat, me and Gilmore on Sheen's bed, Sheen on the road in a car heading north alone for the weekend, sober. But we were 12 beers deep already, searching for change to buy more. All right, gentlemen, I have a lady that desperately wants my tongue. You boys stay out of trouble. Gilmore left to enjoy his new fling with some girl that had reported to the Thrill earlier that month. Boys are so gross. Blue Jay turned up the music and pulled out 3 beers. Drink a game. Finish the beer before Black Throw the Wind is over. He pushed play on the DVD CD player. I pounded the beer in my hand before grabbing the beer he was handing me. I looked out towards the Point Loma Lighthouse and was quietly disappointed I could never see its light. It was near 1700 and our small party was dying. We had consumed our 30 cans, built a pyramid, and were working on the second 30-pack. Random mates came and went. Obscene things were yelled. Strange fluids pulled in the hallways and on the carpet. We were all walking with the legs of seamen. Lois was now talking about sex. It's not that I'm waiting for marriage. Lois, it's not that serious. It's just about feeling good, being open, connection, fun. And if you're saving your virginity, maybe we could just have anal. Yeah, Lois, my dick's not that big. It wouldn't hurt. Anything in the butt hurts. I have logs the size of Coke cans slip out of my ass. A little glow stick-sized dick could go unnoticed. Blue Jay coincidentally had a glow stick in his pocket. He had jacked it from the training earlier that day. Hey, he said with a jovial voice as he pulled out his possession and waved it in the air. What if we actually shoved a glow stick in your ass, Lois? You think your butt would glow? The conversation faded from my conscience. Time vanished and I transported. I was outside in a fog of piss beer, smoking with FS3 Karamat. Dude, I scored some ice from Stagger. You want to get high? I slurred my way through a no and explained my fear of being cracked out all weekend. But as I talked, he dipped his fingernail into a bag, pulled it out, and held it to my nose. I sniffed. Blue Jay was gone. Did I piss him off? Does he know I'm high? Oh shit, what if Sheen comes home? I'll pretend I'm asleep. Shit, is it still Friday? Did I miss Saturday? I laid in bed and covered myself. The sheets felt good. I knew I could pretend to be asleep if anyone came in. My jaw was grinding my skull. A lot of time went by, ruminating on horrible doll scenarios, each scaring me deeper into my sheets. I managed to put on a porn DVD on Sheen's TV. I wasn't horny, but I needed to distract my painful thoughts. My eyes locked into the screen and my head stiffened like it was locked into a medieval pillory. 2.5 hours I stared, then pushed the play button to watch it again. My dick ended up in my hand. I had to push play again and again. Lotion was everywhere, on my balls, stomach, the dry rotten carpet. Dehydration. The more I jerked off, the more my high increased. I didn't feel cracked out anymore. I wasn't paranoid. I was flying. I beat it harder and harder. The volume of the porn was shaking the desk speakers. On my knees, naked, leaned back. Oh, God! An orgasmic explosion shot through my sphincter, my spine, my neck, and the back of my eyes. I tumbled to the stale carpet and spasmed, jerking as if I were having a seizure. I laid panting, couldn't believe what had just happened. The movie continued playing, and I just laid there in a pool of lotion and ejaculant, muscles twitching. Euphoria rushing through my body and brain. Largest orgasm I've ever had. To this day. Monday, rumors said Lois had been gangbanged by Stagger Lee and BM3 Kurtz. She seemed happy about it. Yawn 36. Seaman William. Sure, why don't you paddle? I'll paint. Yeah, sure, that's cool. I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack. William was more or less quiet, and we rarely talked, and worked together even less. I heard stories that he was dating one of the girls on the boat, and that they had a secret rack somewhere on the boat. One I could never find. Our task was to paint the boot stripe around the thrill, at least the part of it above the waterline. Using a little row skiff, we set out to do this at 0630. I was decongesting from a 3-day bender and hadn't slept that entire time. My jaw was moving on its own accord, and the sweat pouring off my skin had already soaked through multiple layers of clothing. You all right, bud? Oh my God, no. What the fuck am I doing? I couldn't catch my breath. As I pushed the oars through the water, all I had to do was keep the skiff close enough for William to paint the boat. Sorry, man. Rough night. He put his roller down, looked up to make sure there was no one watching us, lit a cigarette, and grabbed an oar. Why don't you take a breather, bud? You look like you're gonna die on me. My hand was visibly shaking as I went to light my smoke. William looked away, down at the ripples between our skiff and the thrill. Footnote. Boot stripe. An area of the boat painted with copper-based paint which rubs off easily if algae grows on it. Always by the waterline. Yawn 37. Fireman Leonard. His newest contraption looked like a piece to a paintball gun. The one I purchased weeks later was aluminum and could be held comfortably without freezing your hand while the nitrogen dispersed. Leonard's new toy was a whippet holder, a little steel cylinder that allowed the user to huff small 8-gram bottles of nitrogen without using a balloon. His device, and later the collection of all our devices, was only the beginning to our huffing experiments in the barracks. Nitrogen is to this day enjoyable, though Leonard didn't think it was enough. He brought keyboard cleaner. Wah, 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 wah. Then he brought Freon. This stuff can freeze your lungs. I'll get second dibs. Sickness, like waking up to a never-ending Robitussin trip. Unsure if the sway is you or the boat. Headache, stomach burns, crawling to the head, possible diarrhea, too scared to test it. Extreme nausea, spinning, darkness. Leonard's type of desire to get high on anything was common for my shipmates on the thrill. Seems that it's common for the Coast Guard in general. Maybe for people in general. We compared stories of boot camp, and surprisingly, both found that we had used a similar tactic to experience conscious change there. Basic Training, Cape May, New Jersey. The Mexican Mafia was a group of 3 Mexicans from Delta Company. They were talking about different ways to get high. One of them suggested a procedure which distorted sensory input to the brain. After a brief explanation and much skepticism, I had to try. First, I bent over at a 90-degree angle to the floor, took 10 major breaths. Next was to rotate counterclockwise as fast as possible, while staring at a spot on the deck. Then, quickly stand upright, cross arms over your chest, and have a shipmate wrap his arms around your body, lean far back, and pick you up off the floor. Blackness. Moving to the top of a roller coaster. Wind and screams, howling by. Shit. Urine, convulsing. Awake to a circle of people standing around looking down. You okay, man? Shit, did I piss myself? Did we get caught? Journal entry. June 2004. Did you notice how Melville killed off every last one of his shipmates? None of them survived, and it was Ishmael alone that had risen from the casket after the captain found his Leviathan. I am questioning my sanity. Ha ha! What the fuck am I doing in this fucking barracks? Blue Jay and I are spending too much time together. We gotta find somewhere to go and escape. Yawn 38. Clock. He didn't have a fucking home. I didn't have a fucking home. Shit, even Lois didn't have a home. Home? Returning home? Means going back to the Navy base. Home is a ship. A prolonged port call. What is this home? What do we do there? Clock was kicked out with terms other than honorable on his papers. He'd been awaiting his discharge as a E1 mess cooking for months. He looked like a spider ghost whenever I spotted him in the smoking area. He always walked off before I could say hi. There was a moment of less than an hour he was given to clear out his shit from the barracks, escorted by the chief. A group of us paid respects by saluting him with raised beers and plastic cups. Someone yelled, "Good riddance!" as the chief and Clock waited in line for the elevator. "You overweight fuck!" He was going home. Apparently. I was gonna miss him. Mr. B. I don't know why we bother with this shit. What? Sure, you've been here for 2 years. You were trying to siphon milk from your mom's tit when I first got here. 2 years ain't shit, is it, Stagger? Well, I guess we're glad you're leaving. What have you been fucking doing for 2 years? I never fucking see you. You hang out in the playground ashore, eh? Hang out with the playground with that unibrow of yours? Or what? Well, fuck. BM1 did all this work. He's the only one that works around here. Here, guys, listen up. Ashore gets a recommendation letter and thrill plaque from the BM1. Let's get this over with. All right. Get back to fucking work, people. Ashore, get the fuck out of here. Yawn 39. Sheen, Seaman. We had been close friends for over a year and a half. Completely different people with different viewpoints, different software running. We bunked beside each other in Margaritaville, that 14-man berthing area on the giant rusty piece of white steel. We berthed together in the barracks. Sheen took off to A school in Petaluma when I left for my school in Yorktown. After failing to get orders to be in Airedale, I found the next school that had an opening. It happened to be mechanics school, which was enough for me to just leave as soon as possible. A trip across country was something to fantasize about, a different ocean over there. Though we had fought, we were still like an elderly married couple. Leaving Sheen was tough. I had watched so many others come and go, friends, shipmates, strangers, assholes, clowns, some waiting to die, some drunk, some gone before they left. When Sheen left, he never looked back. He never said bye. It was never acknowledged by anyone. I wanted to celebrate our 2 years together. He seemed too busy, avoidance. He never reached out, returned a call, or wished me farewell. He was gone. When I left, I stayed. Having received orders for A school, I found an interesting offer at hand. The BM1 approved 30 days of leave vacation, which I had stored up since arriving at the ship. The opportunity was too good to pass. Soon, I had checked off the ship and out of the barracks and had left for my leave. Yet, I stayed. Now, staying with Gilmore and Blue Jay, my intention was to hang out for a week and convince Catherine to travel across country with me. In my Ford Ranger, it could take us a few weeks to do it. Catherine said she would think about it, and she did. She also avoided me while thinking, which was all style, I told myself. I was ignorant, and though my friends encouraged me to go enjoy myself, I did little else other than drink myself into a stupor each and every day. As the end of my 30 days approached, Catherine gave me word that she would not accompany me, and that she had little interest in me in any manner. Left aloof and lonely, I realized I'd be driving across the country solo. I took to the bottle even harder, and it began to take its toll on my body. Each morning I'd awake in a horrible state, dehydration, stomach pains. I'd start the day pounding water, then puking. My head would throb and spin for hours. One morning, I went through my vomiting process and started brushing my teeth. I farted and a bunch of undigested food fell out of my asshole onto the floor. I started vomiting profusely in disgust, curled into a ball in the bottom of the shower. I spent one last weekend in San Diego with Gilmore and Blue Jay and whoever else was there in those days. We drank like we were at a first and last chance saloon, celebrated nearly 2 years aboard the Thrill, arrived an upbeat seaman apprentice, leaving a disgruntled drunk. In those later days in San Diego, I was fearful of going to Tijuana, and the beaches and bars were a hassle. My interest was to drink and debauch with my boys, my shipmates. So, in the course of my 30 days of leave, I spent 26 days in the barracks, with a view of the industrial navy obstructing the beautiful Pacific and the lighthouse that never flashed in my direction. The timer was down to 4 days. It was Thursday. Sheen was gone. Georgia was gone. Shipmates had come and gone. Gilmore and Blue Jay wanted the best for their friend, and they catered to my needs. We drank. They said I should go, to drive and not look back. My last day in town, I had acquired a point of meth from Stagger, and after snorting it over the course of an evening, I jumped in my truck and drove straight through to Yorktown, and checked into my school on Monday morning.